Okay, so you know how sometimes you just want to get right to the core of something? Like really understand how complex things work?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, today we're going to try that with something you might not expect.
Okay.
The Land of Oz.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You're going to forget about Kansas for a bit
Yeah.
and like really deep dive into the surprisingly intricate Constitution of Oz.
The Constitution of Oz. That's
Yeah.
not something you hear every day.
Right. When you think of Oz, you probably think of like magic and, fantastical creatures.
Yeah.
Not legal systems.
Yeah.
But actually, the documents we've been going through detailing this Ozian Constitution, they actually reveal this like really fascinating attempt to bring order and justice to a place so different from our world.
Yeah, it's really a testament to the idea that, like, even in the most imaginative settings, there's this need for structure and rules.
Yeah, for sure. So our mission today is to like really break down what makes this Ozian Constitution tick. What are the pieces? What are the fundamental parts of it? And what can they tell us about, trying to govern a society that's diverse and well magical?
Right.
Let's start with the basics. The structure. It's just wild to think about how magic even fits into a legal document.
Right. Yeah. It's like, how do you even begin to put rules around something as unpredictable as magic?
Yeah, exactly.
But what's interesting here is they don't treat it like some separate thing. It's not outside the law.
Oh.
It's woven right in from the very beginning, like even the preamble.
The preamble.
Yeah.
Often
Yeah.
seen as like the statement of intent.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It sets the stage.
So in this case, the source material highlights how it emphasizes freedom, justice, and peace for everyone in Oz.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very specific about this. It doesn't matter if you have magical abilities or not.
Right. Everyone's included.
Right. That sets a powerful tone, doesn't it?
It does. It suggests this like fundamental equality right from the start. Like you're not more or less deserving of rights because you have magic.
You're a citizen, period.
Exactly. And this idea is developed even further in their Bill of Rights, which has some really unique elements.
Okay, this is where things get interesting. They have a Bill of Rights that includes the right to magic.
To magic.
For those who have it.
Yeah.
How does that even work?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
The text actually says right to magic for those who possess it. And it suggests that, like, legally, people are protected to practice their magic. If it's something you're born with, the state recognizes and protects that.
Wow.
But it's not a free-for-all. Right after that, they have this crucial counterbalance.
Okay.
The right to protection from enchantments.
Oh, for those who don't have magic, that's incredibly thoughtful.
Right. It acknowledges that not everyone has magic, and those people could be vulnerable.
Totally. It's not just about giving power to those with magic.
Mm-hmm.
It's about making sure everyone is safe.
Absolutely. It's like they understood both the good and the bad sides of magic, right?
Yeah.
The Constitution isn't just about freedom.
Yeah.
It's about protection, too, for everyone.
So how does power actually work in Oz under this system? It seems like a pretty familiar structure, doesn't it?
Well, it does.
You have the executive branch, led by the ruler, originally the wizard, but now Princess Ozma.
Right, the central authority.
And there's the legislative branch, described as a council of representatives from the 4 countries of Oz.
Ah, so it's not just one big blob.
No.
There are different regions with their own interests.
Yeah. Each with a voice in making the laws.
Right.
Which makes sense, right? Imagine if there's some magical resource that crosses borders.
Yeah, you'd need representatives from each area to weigh in.
Exactly. So you have Munchkin country, Winky country, Gillikin country, and Quadling country.
Wow, keeping track of all those.
All represented.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have the judicial branch.
Right. The courts?
The ones who interpret the laws. Make sure everything's running smoothly and, make sure they line up with the Constitution.
I bet the court cases in a magical system are pretty wild.
Oh, for sure.
Which brings us to the provisions for magic.
Okay.
This is where it gets really practical. Like, how does magic work in a society day to day? Well, the Constitution has rules about how magic can and cannot be used.
Like what you can and can't do.
Yeah. What counts as misuse of magic? Think about it. Someone casts a spell without permission, or there's a magical fight between neighbors. How do you even decide what's allowed?
Right.
Our sources don't give specific examples, but the fact that they have these rules means they thought about this stuff.
Yeah, they were thinking ahead. It's not just about reacting to problems. It's about anticipating the unique challenges of a world with magic.
Right.
Then there's the amendment process. The Constitution isn't set in stone, is it?
No, it's designed to change.
Okay.
The important thing here is that any changes require agreement from both the magical and non-magical communities.
It can't just be one side deciding.
Right.
Everyone has to agree.
Exactly, which goes back to that inclusivity. No one group can just change the rules without everyone else being on board.
It's like they built in a safeguard
Yeah,
to make sure the foundation of Oz stays strong but can still adapt.
exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about how the Ozian Constitution is structured.
Yeah.
Now, what about the big ideas?
The core values.
Yeah, the values it's built on.
Right. Well, the text emphasizes several key principles.
Okay.
First up, equality and justice. It's stated very clearly that all citizens, no matter what their background is.
And there are some wild backgrounds in Oz.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you have scarecrows, tin men, winged monkeys.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Everyone is supposed to be treated equally under the law, no matter what you look like or what species you are.
Or if you have magic or not.
Right. Which is huge in a place as diverse as Oz.
Yeah, it shows a real commitment to fairness, doesn't it?
It does.
That's something that resonates with anyone thinking about how society should be run.
Absolutely. Then there's freedom of magic. We touched on this with the Bill of Rights. It's a recognized right.
To practice your magic.
Yeah, but it comes with a big responsibility clause.
Oh, okay.
The Constitution also limits the use of magic to prevent abuse.
Like you can't just go around zapping people.
Right. It's that classic idea that with great power...
And great responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have this incredible ability, but you can't just use it however you want. There are rules, ethical and legal boundaries.
What other principles are in this Ozian system?
Protection and security is another important one.
Okay.
There are specific parts of the Constitution aimed at protecting vulnerable people.
From magical harm.
Right, and from exploitation.
Makes
like,
sense.
they recognize that in a world with magic, some people might be at a disadvantage.
For sure.
And they wanted to protect those people.
That feels like the necessary flip side of the freedom of magic coin.
Uh-huh.
You give people this powerful ability, but you need rules to make sure it's not abused. Finally, there's the principle of transparency and accountability.
Ah, yes. Especially interesting when you think about the wizard's rule.
Which wasn't exactly open and honest.
Right. So the text actually highlights how there are clear systems in place to hold those in power responsible.
So no more shady business behind the curtain.
Right. This emphasis on transparency probably came about because of what happened with the wizard. It's like they learned from their mistakes.
Yeah, they're trying to build a more trustworthy system. So the Constitution isn't just some theoretical thing.
No.
It's directly shaped by the history of Oz,
Absolutely.
which makes it feel a lot more real and legitimate, right?
It does.
Okay, so zooming out a bit.
Yeah.
Why is this Constitution so important for Oz as a whole?
Good question. For one thing, it's described as this stabilizing force.
Okay.
In a world where crazy magical events can happen and there are all sorts of crises, a clear set of laws brings order.
Right, like a framework.
Exactly. It helps society function, even in the midst of all the craziness.
So everyone from Munchkins to Quadlings to flying monkeys.
Right.
They all have the same rule book.
Yeah, which brings consistency, especially in a world that can be very unpredictable.
Okay, so stability. What else?
The Constitution also promotes the empowerment of the people.
Oh, interesting.
It actually includes ways for citizens to hold their leaders accountable and to participate in how Oz is run.
So it's not just Princess Ozma calling all the shots.
Right.
The people have a voice.
Exactly, which is so important in any healthy society.
What about all the different beings in Oz, that incredible diversity?
The Constitution addresses that head on. It specifically talks about protection of diversity. It makes sure that no one is treated unfairly under the law because of their magic or species or where they come from in Oz.
No matter how different you are.
Right.
Your rights are protected.
Exactly. Which is key in a place with so many different kinds of inhabitants.
Wow, so it's about more than just rules. It's about creating a society that's fair and inclusive. It sounds like the Constitution also helps to keep the peace.
It does. It actively encourages peace between the different regions and species of Oz.
Oh, wow.
It does this by establishing like a common set of laws and principles for how to resolve arguments so they don't escalate into conflict.
So it's about working together.
Yeah, exactly. It's the foundation for a peaceful society.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the biggest takeaways about the Constitution of Oz? The things we should really remember?
Well, I think one of the most important points is that it's more than just a document.
Okay.
It's like a living part of Oz. It reflects the character of the society.
Yeah.
It embraces the magic, the diversity. It's not some dusty old scroll.
Right, it's actively shaping life in Oz.
Exactly. It lays out how they govern themselves, and it's built on this idea of respect and protection for all citizens.
No matter who they are or what they can do.
Right. And it encourages people to get involved in their own governance.
Which is a powerful message no matter where you live.
Absolutely. And of course, we can't forget about the role it plays in dealing with the challenges of a magical world. It shows that you can take something as fantastic as magic and bring it into a legal framework.
So ultimately, the Constitution of Oz seems to be this blend of the fantastical and the practical.
Uh-huh.
They took basic principles of good governance and adapted them to this incredible world.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the purpose of law in any society.
It does. It makes you ask what really matters when you're setting up the rules for how people live together, whether there's magic involved or not.
So to sum it up,
Yeah.
our deep dive into the Constitution of Oz has revealed this surprisingly sophisticated legal system.
Uh-huh.
One that brings together the extraordinary world of magic with basic principles of justice and equality
And it creates a society that's both stable and inclusive.
in a truly unique place.
Yeah. And it leaves us with this thought. What if we looked at the principles they use in the Ozian Constitution? Like the balance between individual rights and responsibilities, how they bring together so many different kinds of people,
Yeah.
and how they've adapted their system to deal with magic.
Right.
What if we could learn from that? Could it give us some new ideas about how to solve the problems we face in our own world?
It really makes you think, what would it be like to live in a society where magic is a real legal issue? How would that change our ideas about what we can and can't do?
Lots to ponder.
Thanks for joining us as we went down the yellow brick road and took this deep dive into the Constitution of Oz.
Always a pleasure.
Until next time.
See you then.